Hi, I'm Heather. Welcome to class. Today we're going to do a short sequence that will lead us into Hanumanasana, which is also known as the front splits. Before we begin, if you find this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll start with 2 bricks and we'll have them standing on the tall angle and place them to the front edge of your mat. Then we're going to work with a lunging pose. So let's step the right foot between the bricks, come down onto the left knee, and as we establish our lunging pose, we want the right knee stacked vertically top the ankle, and then the left knee as far back as we can take it. So let's place the hands on the bricks. Just be aware that they are a little more wobbly when they're on their tall edge. Walk your left knee back as far as you can, still keeping the right knee vertically top the ankle. So as you walk that left knee back, you may find that there's a stretching sensation in the hip flexors. Keep rolling the outer left hip forward. So there's this internal rotation of the back leg. And as the outer left hip moves forward, feed the thigh bone into the pelvis and feed this right thigh bone back into the pelvis. So there's this kind of movement, leveling the hips to the front of the mat. Now we can lower the bricks to blade shape, still draw the chest forward however. So the collarbones are broad, shoulder tips press back. Right thigh bone feeds back into the pelvis, left thigh bone feeds up and forward. And then we'll straighten the back leg. So as you straighten the left leg, again, work with that internal rotation of the left thigh. Inner left thigh rolls up to the ceiling. You're rolling from the big toe to the little toe edge of the foot. And then bend the knee. From here, we're going to straighten the right knee as well. So as we pick the left knee up off the floor, straighten the right knee. That's where we might come up against real stiffness in the hamstring. So if you need to go back to tall bricks, do that. But do your best to keep the spine straight. Breastbone forward, thoracic spine in, rather than rounding the back. The back heel is up so that we can spread the weight from the big toe to the little toe edge of the foot and roll the inner left thigh back. Let's come back into our lunge. Left knee to the floor, right knee vertically top the ankle. Chest forward, shoulder tips back. Once more, straighten the back knee, straighten the front knee, breastbone forward, shoulder tips back. Keep the spine parallel to the floor and roll the inner left thigh back. Again, bend into a lunge, chest forward. Once more, straighten the back knee, then the front knee. Then if you can go deeper, you can bend the elbows, fold down over the leg. No need to work the left heel down. We're keeping the left heel lifted so that we can continue that idea of internally rotating the thigh, keeping the outer left hip forward as the outer right hip draws back. And then slowly let's come out of the pose. We'll swap our legs. Left leg forward. Again, let's start on tall bricks and establish this left knee, vertically top the ankle, and walk the right knee as far back as you can manage. So you've got a long distance, a long stride between this left heel and the right knee. That way, we're encouraging length in the upper right thigh, the area that we sometimes refer to as the front groins, the hip flexors. Then as you roll from the big toe edge to the little toe edge of this back foot, there's that internal rotation of the thigh. The outer right hip can move forward. Feed the left thigh bone back into the pelvis so the outer left hip draws back. And then perhaps you can lower the bricks, draw the chest forward still. So the collarbones are broad, shoulder tips move back towards your hips. Then we'll straighten the back knee. So as you straighten the back knee, keep drawing the breastbone forward, shoulder tips back, and roll from the big toe to the little toe edge of the foot, encouraging that outer right hip to move forward. Bend the knee to the floor. This time we're going to straighten the front knee. So once more, straighten the back knee, then the front knee. But don't fold into the leg just yet. Draw the chest forward. Remember, if you feel stiff, turn the bricks up higher so that you can keep length on the front body. Breastbone forward, away from the navel. If you have the flexibility, you can be on blade-shaped bricks, but go on drawing the outer left hip back. Then bend both knees, right knee to the floor, left knee stacked atop the ankle. And once more, straighten the right knee, internally rotate that right thigh, straighten the left knee, breastbone forward, shoulder tips back towards the hips. Check in on your breath, make sure you're breathing smoothly. Bend both knees, again right knee to the floor, we're back in that forward lunge. Once more, straighten the back knee, straighten the front knee, pressurize the inner foot down as you go deeper. If you have that capacity, bend the elbows, fold over the leg, but watch that the right hip isn't dragging back. Can you internally rotate the right thigh, move the outer right hip forward, and keep drawing the outer left hip back. The right heel stays lifted. So we're in a variation of Parsvottanasana, the side intense stretch pose. Let's come out of the pose, bend the knees, and come to sit in Virabhadrasana for a moment. So we give the thighs a bit of rest. If kneeling doesn't suit you, then sit in simple cross legs or sit with the legs out straight. But just for a moment, relax the legs. Let's come back into our lunge, right foot forward, but this time we'll stay upright. So the hands can be on the waist, and as you align your knee vertically top the ankle, let's tuck the toes under on the back foot and walk that left knee as far back as you can manage, still remembering to keep this right knee vertically top the ankle. And internally rotate this left thigh so that the thigh bone feels like it's feeding up into the pelvis and the outer hip moves forward. Draw the sacrum down, draw the tailbone down, zip the navel up. And let's take the arms out and up. Virabhadrasana arms. Lift up through the side rib cage. Look up, and perhaps here as you look up, can you bring the hands together? Press the heels of the hands, the knuckles of the fingers, the tips of the fingers together. Lift the arms up, but also lift the back ribs up. And as you press through the ball of the left foot, keep moving the left hip forward. And then let's take the arms out, bring the head back to neutral, and we'll change sides. So we place right knee to the floor, left leg forward, lunge forward, bring that knee vertically top the ankle, and again just make sure you've taken that right knee as far back as you can manage, and press from the big toe edge to the little toe edge of the foot so you can roll the outer right hip forward. Sacrum down, tailbone down, navel up. And then we'll take the arms out and up. As you lift the arms, lift the back ribs, side ribs, back ribs particularly, lift them up as the sacrum descends. Then look up, and perhaps you can bring the hands together. Squeeze the elbow tips in so the arms are straight. As you look up, keep the base of the skull from collapsing onto the back body. So there's some space there in the back of the neck. Steady breath. And as you press into the ball of the right foot, move the outer right hip forward more and more. And exhale, head to neutral, arms down, and come out of the pose. Let's come back to Virabhadrasana, Thunderbolt pose. Again, so we can rest the legs. Settle your gaze on one point. Get steady in your breath. Now we'll come into that lunge again and bring ourselves upright for Virabhadrasana I. Virabhadrasana I can be really helpful in lengthening the hip flexors, which is really important for Hanumanasana. So let's stride the right foot forward again. You can use your bricks if you need to help with your balance. Stack the knee vertically atop the ankle, tuck the left toes under. So if you feel unsteady, you could place your hands onto the bricks, straighten the back leg, and then raise the torso. But if you feel strong enough and your balance is working well for you, we'll stay upright and straighten the back leg. So before we lift the knee off the floor, make sure this left thigh is internally rotating. Inhale. Exhale, slowly straighten the back leg. So you're pressing back the heel, rolling back the inner left thigh, rolling forward the outer left hip. Take the arms out and up, lift up the back ribs. Then can you bring the hands together, squeeze the upper arms, squeeze the elbow tips in, and then all the way back down. Good, let's swap legs. Right knee to the floor, left leg forward, lunge forward. Inner right thigh rolls back, shoulders down, inhale. Exhale, as you straighten the back leg, keep this thigh parallel to the floor, tailbone down, navel up. Then arms out and up. Lift the back ribs up. Squeeze the elbow tips in as you attempt then to bring the hands together. Upper arms squeezing in against the sides of the head. And then exhale all the way back down. And again, let's have a rest. Virabhadrasana, thunderbolt pose. Thighs relaxed. You'll see now that I have a setup that includes a chair that I can step through and a bolster on the seat of the chair, plus 3 bricks. Now, I understand if you don't have all of these props at home, you'll need to make do with what you have. For example, if you don't have a yoga chair where you can step through the back of the chair, it's possible that you could work with the chair sideways, so you step over the chair sideways. We are wanting to use significant height for the heel of the front foot. So if you've only got 2 bricks, for example, perhaps you could use books as well to establish more height. We're going to stride the right leg through and bring our pelvis onto the bolster. So we've got significant height underneath the pelvis, and let's establish this back leg. Just as we've been working throughout this session, roll from the big toe to the little toe so that the outer left hip can move forward. Sometimes it's helpful to bring the thumb into the crease of the buttock to roll that outer left hip further forward. Now we're going to place the right heel up on the bricks. So right heel on the bricks, and both legs are straight. So as we straighten both legs, let's just for a moment bend the knees, let the legs be relaxed. As we straighten them, we want to feed the right thigh bone back into the pelvis, left thigh bone up and forward into the pelvis. So do that a couple of times. See if you can get that feeling. Feeding the right thigh bone back into the pelvis, left thigh bone forward into the pelvis. Lift the chest and roll the inner left thigh up. Then bend the knees, rest. We're going to do one more time and we'll take the arms up. Slowly straighten both knees, feed the right femur bone back into the pelvis, left femur bone up and forward into the pelvis. And let's bring the hands together in Anjali Mudra. Take the hands back behind the head, lift the chest. Watch you're not dropping the back ribs though. Keep the back ribs lifted. Then see, can you straighten the arms from this position? Squeeze the upper arms in against the sides of the head. Back ribs lift. And then release, and we'll swap legs. Right leg steps out, left leg steps through. Now you might need to move the bricks across to the left side a little more. Sit the pelvis on the bolster. So you've got the very top part of the left hamstrings and then the top part of the front right thigh, the hip flexors, on the bolster. Roll from the big toe to the little toe edge of that back foot. Use your thumb in the crease of the buttock to roll the outer right hip forward more and more. And then we'll take this left heel up onto our bricks. Bend the knees just for a moment so you get the feeling that as you straighten the knees, you can feed this femur bone in, left femur bone into the pelvis, right femur bone up into the pelvis. Do that a couple of times, knees bend. As you straighten, feed the femur bones into the pelvis, roll the outer right hip forward. Once more from the bent knees, straighten the knees, roll the outer right hip forward, outer left hip back, and go on spinning that inner right thigh back. Chest lifted. The hands come into Anjali Mudra, but bring them behind the back, behind the head. So thumb side towards the spine. And again, watch you're not collapsing the back ribs. Lift the back ribs up, move the sacrum down, then straighten the arms. Squeeze the elbow tips in. Zip the navel up. And then release. Step out of the pose. And we'll move on. As we move on, we're going to use 2 bolsters. And if you don't have 2 bolsters, you can roll up some blankets. You can use pillows and a bolster, or blankets and pillows. But we're starting with this height, and we'll integrate to going a little lower if you have that capacity. We have the chair in front of us. Now, it can be any chair. We're just going to bring that front leg underneath the chair and use the chair for support. So step the right foot over the bolsters, and then you can lean into the chair. As you come down, back knee can come to the floor. And then as that right leg straightens under the chair, see that the upper left thigh is on the bolster and the very top part of the back of the right thigh is on the bolster. So pelvis right in the middle of the bolsters. Stay on the toe prints, not the toenails at this stage. As you're on the toe prints, roll to the little toe edge of the foot so that the outer left hip can move forward. We have the chair for support. Lift the chest and then straighten the back leg. Roll to the little toe edge of the foot. Roll the outer left hip forward. Keep breathing. And then bend the knee. And let's try with only 1 bolster. So we move this top bolster out of the way. Again, we use the chair for support. We slide this right heel forward and come down onto your bolster. The chair is there for support, so if you feel it's an intense stretch, use some arm strength to prevent yourself from doing any injury. And if it's too strong, stay up on more height. Internally rotate the left thigh. You can use your thumb there into the crease of the buttock. Roll the outer left hip forward. Chest up. Then point the toes so your toenails are on the floor and go on rolling to the little toe edge of the foot, outer left hip forward. Take the arms back and up. Lift the back ribs up. Look up and bring the hands together. Squeeze the elbow tips in. Then we can lower the arms. We'll come out of the pose. You can press into the chair. You can press into the bolster. Find what works for you as you slide that right leg in. Now, of course, we can go lower. We can challenge ourselves to go lower if possible. We can eliminate the bolster. And I'm going to bring a brick into place to offer another level of support, but it is lower than the bolster. We can use the brick whether it's on the flat level, on the blade shape level, or even on the tall level. Just know that when it's on this tall level, it's not as stable as if it were a little lower. So having done enough preparatory work, I'm going to demonstrate with this flat brick. Left leg is back. I'm using the chair, sliding that right leg forward. Left knee can move back as well. And then I want to feel that the right sitting bone come onto the brick, but not at the expense of this left hip. See how, as I'm landing, the left side of the pelvis is dragging back. In fact, my whole body is turning away from the front leg. I'm more on the inner left knee. I'm more on the big toe of the foot. So my intention is to stay right on the center of the kneecap, come onto the little toe edge of the foot, move the outer left hip forward, and level my chest to the front edge of the mat. So again, I can use the chair, lift the chest. And if you feel this is really extreme, it's very strong stretch, keep your hands on the chair. Don't bother taking the arms up. You can use the support as you stay and you breathe. But if you feel you have the capacity, let's take the hands in Anjali Mudra, take the hands back behind the body and elbows in, the triceps roll forward. Then straighten the arms, look up, press the palms together, squeeze the elbow tips in. And then lower the arms and let's come out of the pose. Slide the right heel back and we'll come back to using the height of our two bolsters. So we bring our two bolsters back onto our mat and we have left leg coming forward, come down onto the right knee, slide that right heel forward and bring the pelvis directly into the midline of the bolsters. So you can start with that right knee on the floor. The hands are on the chair, using the chair for support. Roll the outer right hip forward. So you can use your thumb into the crease of the buttock, roll that outer hip forward as you straighten the leg. Press the kneecap up off the floor. Roll from the big toe to the little toe edge of the foot. Outer right hip forward. Use the chair to help you lift the chest, but don't lift the shoulders. Shoulders down. Bend the knee. A moment of rest. And we'll go again, we'll take the arms up. So slowly straighten the back leg, feed the right thigh bone into the pelvis, feed the left thigh bone back into the pelvis. Take the arms back, out and up. Lift the back ribs up. Look up, bring the hands together. Squeeze the elbow tips in and go on lifting the back ribs. And then let's come down and we'll eliminate the top bolster if you feel you've got that capacity. So again, we can use the chair for support, be on the very center of that right kneecap, slide the right leg forward. Stay with the toes tucked under on the back foot initially. Roll the outer right hip forward. And then you can point the toes back, but roll from the big toe to the little toe edge of the foot. Use your thumb into the crease of the buttock, roll the outer right hip forward and feed the left femur bone back into the pelvis. Again, if it's really strong, keep your hands on the chair, so that helps to support your weight. If you can allow the weight to settle into the bolster without losing the alignment of the hips, then take the arms up, lift the back ribs, look up, unite the hands. And lower. Let's come out of that. Slide the left heel back in. And if you can go further, we'll eliminate the bolster and use a brick. Again, depends on the height required. maybe you use 2 bricks stacked atop each other. Maybe you can go all the way to the floor. I'm demonstrating with a flat brick, and then I've got the left heel sliding forward and the right knee can move back. But make sure that brick's not under the hamstrings. Bring it right back under the sitting bone. Point the right toes. And again, just watch that you're not tipping off to the left side and that your chest isn't turning to the right. Can you roll the outer right hip forward more and more? Roll from the big toe to the little toe edge of the front right foot. So that outer right hip moves forward, outer left hip draws back. Use the chair for support if you need. Then if you can manage to take the arms up, let's bring the hands into Anjali Mudra. Take the hands back behind you. Triceps roll forward, elbow tips up. As you stretch the arms up, look up, squeeze the elbow tips in, lift the back ribs up. Go on rolling the outer right hip forward. And then lower, and let's come out of the pose. Slide the left heel back in. And rest the legs by sitting in Virabhadrasana. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me. For more in-depth teaching, check out the video library on my website, heatherkitchenyoga.com.au. The link is in the description box below.